Hello everyone, welcome to the episode of Whiteboard series. In this episode, we are going to learn about the purpose of temples. So I've not done video regarding this topic. This is the first time I'm doing this type of video. So we are going to learn why temples exist. First of all, you have to know that during Satya Yuga, temples didn't exist. That is, there were living deities in our earth, that is in the Burloka. As I mentioned, there are total of 14 lokas, that is 14 habitable solar systems. As I told in the previous videos, the whole universe is rotating. That is, the whole solar systems are revolving around the center of mass, that is center of mass of the universe, that is a big black hole. So there is a big black hole in the middle of the universe, and all the solar systems are revolving around it. So whenever the solar systems are near to the black hole, that is when Satya Yuga exists, and whenever they are far from the black hole, that is when Kali Yuga exists. Because whenever the solar systems are near the black hole, the ether content in the atmosphere increases, that is the wisdom increases, due to which it is Satya Yuga, all are righteous in nature. Whereas when the solar systems are far from the black hole, the ether content reduces, that is the wisdom reduces, and everyone are animalistic, that is they are towards the lower three chakras. So that time it is Kali Yuga. So now, since it is Kali Yuga, our solar system, that is the Bhurloka, is far from the black hole, and that is why we have tendencies towards the lower three chakras. But during Satya Yuga, we have tendencies of the upper chakras. So during those times, during the Satya Yuga, temples need not exist because the deities themselves are there in our world. That is in the Bhurloka itself, that is the transitionary loka. So Bhurloka, the earthly plane, is in the transitionary state. That is, it is neither in the physical nor in the astral. It is in somewhere middle. It is the eighth loka. So from the below, that is Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, Patal. So if you count, it is the eighth loka. So it is somewhere between the physical plane and the astral plane. That is why on earth, if you observe, there is tendencies of divinity also and tendencies of animalistic nature also. There is a lot of selfishness, at the same time there is a lot of selflessness. So there is a mix of people. That is why it is the eighth loka or the eighth solar system which is habitable in our strand of universe. So this is the strand of universe where our Garbhodaksha Vishnu dreams. So every Vishnu, every causal being dreams of 14 habitable solar systems. That is this strand of universe. So that is how an observer enters the universe. The observer is nothing but us. Observer is not different from us. That is the Garbhodaksha Vishnu and us are not different. We are one and the same. So whenever we enter this universe, we enter through the passage of the causal realm, astral realm and the physical realm. Now during Satya Yuga, there is no purpose of temples. That is, temples need not exist because deities themselves are there in our world. There is the causal realm is very close to the physical realm because the Bhurloka is close to the black hole and the deities are easily available to the Bhurloka people. But since now it is Kali Yuga, the deities are not accessible. The causal realm frequency is only at around 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. That is during the Brahma Muhurta time. Then it gradually decreases throughout the day. And when the day starts, when the night starts, lot of lower loka frequencies is readily available, due to which everyone are towards hunger for power, money, fame, sex, food, sleep, etc. So that is why during Kali Yuga, since the frequencies of lower lokas are more, we have lower three chakra tendencies. But during Satya Yuga, we have higher chakra tendencies. That is the desire of self-inquiries, desire to think, desire to speech, desire to love. During the Satya Yuga, we have the tendencies of the higher loka or higher chakras. Now as the Yuga passes by, that is from Satya Yuga, when we come to Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, the ether content gradually reduces and the requirement of temples become very prominent. That is, we will require temples because without temples, we will not get our origin. That is, every human, every being on this planet, on the Burloka, requires the source energy. That is, every time we go to sleep, we go to the source, but unconsciously. That is, we don't realize where we are going during sleep. The truth is, during sleep, we go from the physical realm to the causal plane to get the potential energy, because the causal plane is full of potential energy, that is the delta frequency. Then from there, when we come back to this plane, we go through the astral plane, that is of dreams or mind. So in the astral plane, we see a lot of dreams. Then when we come back to the physical realm, we see this world. So that is how we bring the potential energy of the causal realm to the physical realm, because physical realm is always kinetic in nature, full of desires, whereas the causal plane is full of detachment, that is vairagya. Whereas beyond the causal realm, there is nothing, pure void. There is no desires, there is no thoughts, there is no existence itself. So that is why we go close to the truth that is the causal plane, and we steal energy from there. That is, we bring potential energy from the causal plane and we live in this world. That is why everyone are living. That is, without potential energy, we cannot use anything of our own. That is, we cannot work in this world, because this world works on kinetic energy. That's why we require potential energy. Without potential energy, we cannot do any of our daily activities. That is why it is very much necessary to sleep. But during sleep, we go towards the truth or the deity world. So in the causal plane, there is Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, and also the Satyaloka. So Satyaloka is nothing but outside the causal plane. So before Satyaloka, there is Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka. That is where the Saptarishis, the saints who have been meditating for millions of years, the causal beings, that is the Garbhodakshaya Vishnus, and the deities, that is in the Janaloka, like Subramanya, Ganapati, Hanuman, all the Trimurtis, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, and their consorts, Lakshmi, Parvati, and Saraswati. So all of them are there in the Janaloka. So they have their own Maya going on. That is their own Leela, their own stories. So that is going on in the causal plane, in the Janaloka. So deities come from the Janaloka. Now, to understand their Leela, we read Puranas. So how did we get these Puranas? These Puranas are written by the Saptarishis themselves. That is, when the Saptarishis came to the Bhurloka during the Satya Yuga. So during Satya Yuga, since the deities were already there in Bhurloka, when the Saptarishis were already there in Bhurloka, they wrote a lot of knowledgeable books like the Puranas, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita. Everything was pre-written. And whatever happened in the Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga was just rediscovered by saints. So during Satya Yuga, the original knowledge of the universe, how it got created, everything was written in the Vedas. And everything was given by Vishnu himself, because he is the causal being who created this universe. So he knows very well how this universe got created and why he created this universe. Everything was written in the Vedas. And this was passed down to the Tapoloka people, that is of the Saptarishis. And the Saptarishis wrote them in the Vedas, Upanishads, and Puranas. So they made a katha, that is, they made books of stories so that even kids can understand. So they wrote stories of the deities so that we understand. We humans who are addicted to the 5 sensory frequencies, we also understand what is going on in the other planes of existence. Sometimes some people like hippies go to the causal plane, that is by mistake. That is, whenever they do drugs like LSD, mushrooms, they go to the causal plane and they see the deities. But they immediately come back because they can't handle the frequencies of the causal realm. So that is why the only way to go to the causal plane is through meditation. That is the most safest way. That is the chanting of the Bijaksharas, Bija mantras. So when you chant Bija mantra repetitively, what happens is you vibrate at the causal frequency. That is, your consciousness vibrates at causal frequency and you will be able to see the deities. That is how you meditate and go to the causal plane. That is the actual path, but drugs like LSD, mushrooms are like shortcuts, which is not safe and which is not advisable also, because it gives you temporary pleasures. But for permanent pleasure, you have to meditate and go towards the causal plane to understand what is going on in the Janaloka. So beyond the Leela of the deities, that is in the Tapoloka, there is Leela of the Saptarishis. That is how they meditate, how many millions of years they have gained siddhis and what they have done to the universe, how they have contributed. And beyond that is the Vaikuntha Loka. So there is Vaikuntha Loka and Goloka also. So in the causal plane, Krishna has created Goloka. He was also a saint. He was also a yogi who did a lot of sadhana and gained a lot of siddhis, because of which he took all of his loved ones, whoever he seemed worthy. He took all of them to the Goloka. So Goloka is near the Vaikuntha Loka of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And there is also Shankar Mahadev, so the one who was sitting in the Kailasa Parvata, he also created a causal loka called Kailasa. In the causal plane, there is Kailasa and also there is Goloka plus Vaikuntha Loka. So all of us come from there. That is the origin of all existence. And if you are strong enough, if you have done sadhana enough, you also can create your own loka and you can take your loved ones there. But for that, you need lot of virya, lot of ojas. That is, you have to store your ojas for millions of years, and you have to do lot of sadhana to gain such frequencies, to gain such siddhis. So that is how the universe works. And beyond the Tapoloka, Vaikuntha Loka, there is Satya Loka, where there is nothing. That is beyond the plane of existence. So there is no existence in the Satya Loka. Satya Loka is pure void, without any thoughts, without any desires. And that is where we came from. That is Sadashiva. So that is the origin of existence, which is pitch black, pure nothingness. So when we come from there, we always crave for our source. That is, everyone questions this reality. Why I have come here? What is my purpose? Why am I doing all these things? So this question is common among all sentient beings. There is every being, including the animals. Sometimes they question, at least for a fraction of a second, why am I here? So this question is nothing but a craving for the source. So since every being, every consciousness, whichever enters the Maya, craves for this source, craves for the answer of this question, why am I here? Who am I? So all this question, right, is nothing but a craving for the source. That is where we came from. So to understand that, the temples are created. That is, this temple started from the Kali Yuga itself. That is, during Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, they worshipped the gurus. That is, in the Gurukul, they worshipped the gurus. Slowly, the gurus also faded away. That is, there were no powerful gurus enough to initiate people. So that's why temples got created. In the temples, the deities themselves exist. That is, in the Garbhagudi, the main part of the temple, there exists the main deity. So whoever it may be, there may be Shiva or Vishnu or Parvati, Lakshmi, Saraswati, whoever it is, the main deity resides in the middle of the temple, and in the sides there is the Kshetrapalas. So Kshetrapala is situated on the sides of the temple, who protects the temple from all kinds of negative entities, because the temple is nothing but a bank of energy, that is a pool of energy. So whenever there is a pool of energy, lot of lower lokas entities like Pisachini, Yakshini and so many asuras try to misuse the energy. That's why there is Kshetrapala, a strong protector. He is not only the protector, he has his own guardians. That is, there are guardians of the temple. So if you see around the temple, there are small linga type of things, and those are nothing but the Kshetrapalas themselves. That is, the Kshetrapala has many, he is like the commander, he has many soldiers, and those soldiers are all around the temple. They protect the temple from any kind of misuse. And also there is Naga meant for governing the lower loka entities. So Nagas are the head of lower loka. That is, if you see Atal, Vittal, Sutal, Talatal, Rasatal, Patal, all the lokas are governed by the Nagas. So Nagas are the kings of the lower loka. So these Nagas ensure that the lower lokas entities do not disturb the temple corridors. And there is also a well to take water, and there is also Ganu, that is Ganapati. So every temple has a Ganapati, because without Ganapati, you can't start anything. You can't start anything auspicious without Ganapati. Because in the Janaloka, Ganapati got a boon that he will be worshipped in the beginning of all auspicious events. And that story you know very well. I need not repeat the story of Ganapati. So Ganapati is worshipped in the beginning in all temples, and that's why he's there. And sometimes in Dakshina Kannada, instead of Kshetrapalas, there are Daivas also. Daivas like Rakteshwari, Guliga, Panjurli. So they also protect the land from any kind of misuse, mishaps. And that is how temples are constructed. During the Dwapar Yuga, Krishna knew very well that Kali Yuga, people will not be abided to their gurus. That is, the gurus will no longer exist. The Gurukul will no longer exist. There will be many invasions, and the Sanatana Dharma will get faded. And the importance of gurus, importance of Pathshala, Gurukul, Vedas, Upanishads will not be there. And that's why Krishna knew it very well. He was the most realized being in the Dwapar Yuga. And in the Dwapar Yuga, he ensured that the Kali Yuga people will also get to experience divinity through temples. And that's why Krishna ensured that Parashurama, Gorakshanath, Matsyendranath, so all the saints will create temples, so that the younger generation, the upcoming Kali Yuga generation, will get to experience divinity. Because without divinity, we cannot understand the source. Without the frequency of upper loka, we cannot understand our source of existence. And that's why temples are nothing but portals of our source. That is, there are some temples like temples of Ma Shakti, that is Tripura Sundari. They will have Shri Yantra, a huge Shri Yantra, which will take us to the source. Whenever we enter the Shri Yantra temple, it will make us experience the source. In some temples, there will be Linga. That is also a portal towards the divine masculine. Whereas the Shakti temples, that is of Ma Lalita Tripura Sundari, Durga Parameshwari, that is the source towards the divine feminine. And there will be Vishnu temples to understand the source of our causal realm. So understanding Vishnu is like understanding ourselves, like how we dream in this world. Whereas understanding Shiva is like understanding our true self, that is the witness consciousness. And understanding Durga Parameshwari Tripura Sundari is like understanding our Kundalini itself. So there are two things that you have to know. That is, the Kundalini is the feminine consciousness, whereas the witness is the masculine consciousness. So these two combine in order to form a Vishnu, that is a dreamer. That is how a dreamer enters the Maya, by combining the witness and the Kundalini. The witness always watches the Kundalini. Kundalini is nothing but the energy of desires. So this energy of desires is being watched by the witness. Once the desires are fulfilled, the witness has no purpose in this Maya and it goes back to the source. So that is why we require temples in Kali Yuga in order to feel the source of our own existence. And that's why Krishna ensured that in the Kali Yuga, all the Guru Sampradayas, like the Nath Yogis, Guru Dattatreya Sampradaya, Madhvacharya, Adi Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Krishna ensured that they will create strong temples full of energy, full of vibrant causal frequencies, so that we can understand the source of all creation. And that is why temples exist, and that is the purpose of all temples, to understand our source. So I hope this video has brought some light to your consciousness. Thanks for watching, and we'll meet in the next video. Jai Mahakal.